Abraham, the father of faith, who through faith and patience, Abraham, his life was useless until God invaded his space. Since I read about it, I've never seen anybody at 75 that was still living with the parents. He couldn't marry. They did family supporting program and married for him. Himself, the wife, still living in the father's house. Can you imagine when the mother tried to go out to say, Mommy, 75. Mommy, 75. With gray hair. Mommy. When the father is coming back, Daddy, a lot of, yo, at 75. Mommy, where's my food? It's in the kitchen. I hope my wife's food is also there. At 75. His life opened up when he became spiritual. Abraham was from Mesopotamia. Idol worshippers. Men who were sold to strange gods. But when he looked the other side and encountered God and became spiritual, the first voice, get out of your father's house into a land I will show you. As he was moving, a new atmosphere was created. Atmosphere of blessings. It was from one encounter to another level of encounter. And the heaviness of his encounter reflected in his physical life. The multitude of encounters changed his physical life into a land. The day he started hearing him was the day situation started hearing Abraham. When you hear him as a spiritual man, situation in the physical realm will hear you. Your voice is not being heard because you have not heard him. You don't have encounter. He started working with God to the point of making covenant with Yahweh. To the point of even hosting Yahweh. That he could host angels in his house. Can you imagine that level of spirituality? He cooked for them, they ate. To the point of saying, by this time next year. Because in that level of encounter is where you hear matters. By this time next year, I'll visit you again. It was that spirituality that turned everything. And the Bible says, and Abraham became great. Became very great. And the Bible says, became exceedingly great. The Bible says he became rich in cattle, in gold, and in silver. That spirituality turned everything. He was so spiritual that even when you take the wife, angels will appear physically and tell you, restore the wife. Not just restore with an offering. What he came to look for in a nation, he got it in one day and left. The level of his spirituality, to a point he could host angels in his house physically and talk with them, to a point that even God said, how can I do a thing like this? Without telling my friend, I can't hide it from Abraham. See that level. He was here on earth and he was a member of executive council in heaven. When meeting holds there, they have to consult him. He was so spiritual that even Lot, his nephew in Sodom, was there. Abraham was negotiating for his deliverance. He was there drinking brukutu, but another man was negotiating his safety. Become so spiritual that even your brothers abroad, you can negotiate their protection from here. You can negotiate their success. You can create an atmosphere for them. He was so spiritual that even when God said, take your son to Mount Moriah, he got there and landed himself into a covenant that even worked for his children and children. He was so spiritual that he could hear God say, from today, now I know that you love me. In blessing, I will see the atmosphere. You see the atmosphere of blessing? In blessing, I will bless you. He gave him an atmosphere of blessing. And he said, it will also work for your children. He said, your seed shall possess the gates of their enemies. So spiritual, to a point, God swore for him. He said, now your enemies are my enemies. Your friends are my friends. Anyone that blesses you, I will bless. Anyone that curses you, I will curse. And that covenant is still working for Israel till today. The Jews, even in America, anything they do prospers. Big establishment, you will find them. Anything they lay their hand works. Because a man created an atmosphere. Look at me. You must be spiritual until it creates an atmosphere of blessing. That's anywhere you enter, blessing follows you. Now, anything you put your hand prospers. Don't joke with your spiritual life. It's an atmosphere. In your prayer, you are creating atmosphere. In your fasting, you are creating atmosphere of blessings. In your weakness too, you're also creating an atmosphere of failure. In your sleeping without waking up to pray, without studying the scripture, you're also creating an atmosphere. And anyone you create is the one you live in. Choose you these days the atmosphere you will create. Whether it's atmosphere of blessings or atmosphere of failure. Choose these days. I've told you, your spirituality creates an atmosphere of blessings. Abraham used it. Be intentional. Madam, when Oga sleep, touch himself, Oga. Wake up, create atmosphere your children will live. Create the atmosphere that follows them to school. Create atmosphere. Create atmosphere so they don't initiate your children and use them against you. Create atmosphere. Help your business. Help your life. Create atmosphere. Be spiritual so that it can reflect in the atmosphere you live in.